Central Queensland Power and Res Australia Project Manager, Kate Lindsay, is here to talk about the Moah Creek Renewable Energy Project, which is located 30 kilometres west of Rockhampton in Central Queensland and is part of the larger integrated Central Queensland Power project, which is being jointly developed by Res Australia and Energy Estate. Central Queensland Power is a portfolio of wind, solar and battery storage projects with a capacity of over 4 gigawatt, designed to assist in transition of Central Queensland's power supply towards firmed renewable energy, and in doing so to secure the future of heavy industry in Central Queensland. Kate Lindsay has a broad range of experience in large-scale renewable energy industry, including roles involving wind, solar, batteries, transmission lines, synchronous condensers and transmission line projects. Please welcome Kate Lindsay to the platform.
Thank you. Yes, synchronous condensers, quite a weird little wacky one. Well, thanks so much, Nicole, for the introduction. So yes, I'm here representing CQP to talk about the Moah Creek Renewable Energy Project. So today, what I'm hoping to talk to you guys about is just a little bit about us, the developers, about the project, where it's going, next steps, the procurement opportunities that there are for the project, including local content as well, and then we'll move into Q&A. So firstly, about the developers. So CQP, as you mentioned, is a joint venture between two parties. So it's a joint venture between Res Australia and Energy Estate. So I work for Res Australia, which is part of the broader Res worldwide, Res Group. So it was founded over 40 years ago, and they've delivered multiple projects across the globe through development, construction, and operations of renewable energy assets. In Australia, it was founded in 2004, and we've got over 120 people across Australia, and we're developing about 10 gigawatts in our pipeline, and 3 gigawatts are currently either under construction or being assisted with our asset management team. So then on the other side, our joint venture partner is Energy Estate, who are a developer, advisor, and accelerator for large-scale decarbonisation projects. So they are working on a massive 30 gigawatt pipeline globally through their partnerships and have already initiated and excited 1.24 gigawatts, and they also support merger and acquisitions as well. So there's a portfolio of projects, and the project that I run is called the Moah Creek Wind Farm Project, which already has its own business set up for the project, which is called a SPV, a special project vehicle. So all of the assets and contracts belong to the wind farm in this case. So a little bit about the portfolio. So Energy Estate and Res, aka CQP, are developing a portfolio of wind, solar, and storage projects in Central Queensland. So that's amounting to about 4 gigawatts of potential projects joining the grid, which is pretty exciting. So at the moment, it includes 6 large strategically located projects, and the idea of the portfolio is to really bring together those aspects where it's helpful. So obviously heavy industry needs large generation, so having a portfolio of projects allows that. There's also the ability of a portfolio to be able to deliver long-term regional growth. So, if you decide to become a wind turbine technician, you'll have projects to move to. Obviously, the grid in Australia is very complex, so having a portfolio is really a good way to manage those risks. And of course, the amount of coal of generation leaving needs to be replaced by a large amount. So the portfolio really delivers that. So obviously, all of this helps Queensland to deliver your energy and jobs plan. The other, important thing to consider is, of course, Moah Creek is the leading project in this portfolio. It's the most furthest developed, and some of the projects, might change or develop in the background, if that makes sense. So, one really cool thing that I get to talk to you and introduce today is that we have a relatively new innovative partnership between CleanCo and CQP. So this was publicly announced a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to give you a bit of background, I suppose. Basically, renewable energy assets have really high capex. It's like a really expensive fridge, high up front and then easy to run. So CleanCo is a Queensland publicly owned clean energy company and is investing $500 million in renewable energy projects in Central Queensland. So CleanCo is one of multiple government related companies that are investing in renewables. The other ones are CS Energy and Stanwell that you might have heard of. So CleanCo has an agreement with CQP for a portfolio of development projects in the region. So as I mentioned, other projects are not yet at the stage of Moah Creek. So basically then the funding will allow CleanCo exclusive access to this portfolio, and they're currently being matured at different levels by us at CQP. So the announcement that was made, and there's a cool video there you can watch another time if you'd like, that basically said CleanCo has decided to proceed in joining CQP for the development of the Moah Creek Wind Farm project. So that means they'll get a seat at a table, they'll help us innovate things that they can help us with, make decisions about procurement, about sustainability, First Nations that are their goals and objectives, which obviously I align with our goals and objectives. And then at the end of the development, this partnership will allow CleanCo to buy the project. So that means that they will own the project through then the construction and operations of the project. So a lot of people are concerned about who will actually do the construction. So of course, the people that will do the construction are the contractors, and the CleanCo will manage that construction or operations. And of course, CQP has offered to assist CleanCo with this in any way that we can as well. So going on to the project. So the Moah Creek Wind Farm project is located in Central Queensland, closest to Rockhampton. So it's about 30 kilometres west of Rockhampton, close to the townships of Kalapa, Stanwell and Dalma, as you can see. And on the right-hand side there, you can see the project asset outline. So there's a bunch of access tracks, and the little yellow dots are the wind turbines themselves. So there's main access, which is fantastic, from the Capricorn Highway, and some local road upgrades required, as you can see there. All right, so where the projects come from and where we're going. So as you probably realise, wind farms take a really long time to develop, and then they operate for a really long time as well. So we began initial site selection for this site back in 2018 and commenced some of the planning studies. One really cool milestone that we had was when we deployed the SODAR, which measures the wind actually on site, because it's all good and well that we have satellite data for wind, but we really do need that accuracy of on-site data. Then in 2021, the exclusivity agreements were signed with the landowners. So there are 6 host landowners that are associated with the project. And actually next Saturday, we're having a landowner Christmas dinner, which will be lovely. So we've also initiated in 2021 the grid inquiry and done some, I suppose, initial public exhibitions and topographical survey to really get some more site inputs. Also in 2021, we installed a Met mast, which is part of that ongoing wind monitoring campaign. Then I suppose one really important thing for wind farms and all renewable energy projects is development approval. So the planning application to Queensland State Assessment Department was lodged in late 2022. just to skip ahead a little bit, that approval was received in August this year. So there was a lot of reports went into that. It's all available online if anybody's interested to learn, but you have to do preliminary, flora and fauna surveys, traffic impact assessments, aviation assessments, noise assessments, electromagnetic interference and assessments. So there's a lot goes into consideration for these projects. So then we've also met with council and state departments throughout this time to discuss other permits as well. So coming up then to Q 2023, one thing that we've been working on, of course, is our engagement with the Darumbal, the traditional owners. And in August 2023, we signed a CHIMA, which is a cultural heritage management plan, but they like the wording cultural heritage investigation and management agreement, so CHIMA. And that's a really fantastic document that ensures we, protect their cultural legacy going forward. So we have other negotiations ongoing with the Darumbal that I'll just touch on later. Then, of course, we've had the application to connect to the grid. So there's two versions of that. One is with PowerLink for Queensland, and one is with AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator. And obviously, as people may or may not be aware, that's quite a long and tedious process. The EPBC referral was also submitted in Q3 2023. And just as an update for everyone, the portal is taking a long time. It should have been available for public comment quite a while ago, but it hasn't happened. We have said to anyone who wants to view it that we'll notify everyone through our project website. So we're hoping that becomes publicly available soon. And as I mentioned, we also gained RDA conditions, which were mostly as expected. Lots of conditions about, collaborating with council and rural fire brigades and such. So the plan moving forward from here is to really hone into those site investigations, optimizing the design and completing those permits so we're ready to hit the ground running at the start of construction. So what we usually do is get the contractors involved early. So the last couple of months, we've actually gone out to tender for the main contractors, and the team has been working through assessing those. So what we'd like to do is to get them involved to do the geotech investigations, to go out and do some of the, preliminary electrical designs so we can progress that grid application. So we'll be working on that through the next 1.5 years until Q2 2025, when we're hoping to receive the offer to connect and the EPBC approval in time to give notice to proceed so we can start construction. So of course, that's the time that CleanCo will have to decide, does this project still stack up for me, and whether they're going to own the project. So then construction is expected to take 30 months, of which probably 6 months is commissioning, so 24 months of work and movements in town. So the site is expected to be operating and connected to the grid, ready to power 195,000 homes by Q1 2028. So just a little bit more about our connection and approach with the Darumbal people. So the Darumbal, as I mentioned, are the traditional custodians for the region where the project is. And it's really important for us to engage with them and make sure that they have the opportunities to participate in this energy transition through our project and our portfolio of projects. So as I mentioned, we have a voluntary cultural heritage management plan, which has been registered with the State Department. And our land that we're using for the project also has native title still intact. So there's an ILUA, which is an Indigenous land use agreement that we require for the project as well. So we have ongoing and continuous dialogue with the Darumbal people. It's quite amazing as well, their knowledge. So we've been sending a whole heap of the team up to Rockhampton to do the cultural awareness training that they offer, and everyone's quite enjoyed that. There's going to be a little bit about that in our next newsletter. And obviously, once the main contractors become involved, it's really important for their management teams to undertake that training as well. And then, of course, when construction is happening, there'll be important inductions to be had by the Durham to the construction workers, and all sorts of opportunities for integration. So I touched on before the procurement, and I suppose we're here today to talk about the goals, initiatives, and opportunities that there are for contractors and all sorts of people around this region and in Queensland and Australia more broadly. So our approach to procurement is to seek 2 contracts that will construct the wind farm. So we'll have what is usually called the original equipment manufacturer, OEM, who will perform a supply and install contract. So that's for the wind turbines themselves. So they're responsible for the turbines, the warranties, transporting them, all these kinds of things. Then on the other hand, the second contractor is called a balance of plant contractor, who will do all the roads, electrical works, substations, all sorts of other parts, offices, this kind of thing. And altogether they will be managed by the principal. So most likely the principal will be CleanCo, possibly supported by us at CQP. So this is quite common construction approach in the wind farm industry. At the moment, we've also gone out to market for an O&M contract, an operations and maintenance contract, which usually is performed by the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. So that's, again, quite common in the industry, and sometimes they might operate the wind farm for the whole 30-year life, or they might operate it for 5 years, and then another O&M provider will step in to manage the wind farm. Oh, my lights have gone out. So basically, CQP, we have gone to market for these contracts, and we only do so once we're happy with the level of certainty of the project. So you have enough of the design done, you have enough of the permitting done that it makes sense to move forward with this. So that happened back in July. The team received back the offers about 7 weeks ago. It's been going through a refinement process, and we've gone back to the tenderers, the shortlist, to ask them to, refine the offer, correct a few things, etc. So as I mentioned, then these contractors will join the ECI period, and the idea is that we'll knock out some of those optimizations and risks that we can, and then unless by some unusual reason something happens, those early works contractors will become the construction contractors. So I've just put a timeline there for you about what that looks like throughout the project's life. Cool. So the main contractors will conduct then more procurement, smaller packages, which are also aligned to the principal's requirements. So further packages like particular cabling or civil works will be contracted by those main contractors to local contractors or anyone with the capability. So tenderers were asked by us, the principal, to address ethical supply codes, the Modern Slavery Act, local content and benefits they're able to produce, and of course to meet the Queensland procurement policy. The important thing to note is that contractors at all levels will be asked to do that, which is important to keep in mind. So also the Moah Creek Wind Farm project, as a major Australian project, is also required to have an Australian Industry Participation Plan, an AIP plan. So that's established and that's published and available for viewing for anyone who's interested. The way that we select contractors is both quantitative and qualitative. So obviously we look for innovation, the way you're able to complete a tender package, your readiness, local content, experience, compliance with anything that we've asked, including, Modern Slavery Act or etc. So this is the way that we will approach procurement from the top down. So all of those principles will carry through to any contractor involved at any level. So, of course, there's a many wide range of skills and services required to provide a wind farm. It's obviously a combination of civil, electrical, structural, communications. So there's all sorts of packages, and this is not a total list, but just some ideas of how your business might be able to service our project and the projects coming in the region. So whether you're, also looking to become or start a new career in the wind farm and renewables industry. There's all sorts of things. You could be in electrical installation, you could become a wind turbine installer, you could become a crane driver, you could do transport surveys, you can catch animals and or help spot animals that we need to check for, obviously, before we can do any construction work. You could be involved in cleaning. You could, I don't know, you maybe have a food truck and you don't want to be involved in the wind farm at all, but come and feed us on site, which quite often happens. So there's lots of opportunities to think about for everyone out there. And of course, there's a whole heap of career opportunities for young people or people wanting to start another career. So we've got some information available on our website, which you can see the little pictures on the right. So that's available on our website, and it goes through the kind of jobs and what a day like in that role, in that position is. I'm actually in that little picture there. It's me standing in a wind turbine foundation hole. Then there's also some really great information that you can find about jobs in renewable energy and wind farms, of course, available from the Clean Energy Council. So that's linked there. And of course, then the Queensland and Jobs and Energy, they've put out some recent careers information. So there's some links there as well, which are quite helpful. And that's all I had to present today.
Thank you, Kate. Moah Creek, certainly a very exciting project.
Yes, lots going on.
Lots going on. I love the careers page that you've built that actually will allow, whether it's young people or people wanting to reskill and change careers, a real idea of what it would be like to work in renewable sector and what those jobs look like in a real term.
Exactly. I called on a lot of old mates who have all sorts of jobs to fill in a survey for me. And, what do you do on a normal day and do you like it? And also, how do you get there as well? What kind of training do you need? Do you need a blasting certificate or, crane rigging license? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I suppose the unknown without that information can be a little bit daunting for some people to actually take that leap and invest in their own upskilling to be ready for those roles.
Exactly. And, there's all sorts of free courses available at TAFE and all sorts of institutes. So the other cool thing was Stanwell, at Stanwell Power Station, which is actually quite physically close to the site, is planning on having a training facility for wind turbine technicians, which currently you can only do in Victoria. So hopefully that'll open soon as well.
That's very exciting because actual in-turbine training is so important for safety of operation when everything is on the go.
Exactly.
Where do you think the biggest skills gap is currently, where people that are maybe looking for a career change could focus their energies?
Yeah, good question. We're actually finding all sorts of jobs are required at the moment. Engineers who are interested in thinking about renewables should consider it, even if they only want to do civils or they only want to do structural. Or the other quite part that the industry, I think, broadly is struggling with is the number of ecologists and environmentally trained people that we need in this industry. So the amount of surveys that we need to do before construction and then throughout the operating life, as well as, if you want to be on the assessing side, working for a state department or Commonwealth, that's a good one. Yeah. But of
I
course,
think it's
any kind
no, you
of
go.
job, any kind of job.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed your component of the presentation that was talking about the traditional landowners and
Yes,
appreciating that the government does mandate certain engagement and particularly with traditional owners. Queensland Central Power, you really do seem to have gone the extra mile to take great care in looking after the ecosystem and the heritage of the site that you're actually looking to develop.
yes, no, it's very tricky for them, and they have to meet us. But one thing that they've mentioned to us is that we haven't come to them and asked them to help us develop it. It's put on them. So we must really respect that and talk to them and gain their insights about anything, land management or, what days are important to them that, we should respect their, sorry time, this kind of thing. And I suppose res and energy estate in our other capacities overseas really value the traditional owners wherever they are, and there are some really cool things that we can collaborate with them on. Yeah.
And you were talking about some of the cultural heritage training that your team and that contractors will be going through, and you
Yes.
mentioned something about a newsletter. Can the delegation subscribe to the newsletter about the project?
Yes, yes. So we produce a newsletter whenever we have important updates to give about the project, and they're available on our project website. So if you put your email, the contact details into the website, you'll join the mailing list. But the latest newsletter, which is about to come out next week, is it's got a section on some of that training that everyone's done and what they liked, and cool ways of fishing and all sorts of things that we learnt. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, very much enjoyed your presentation, Kate, on the Moah Creek Renewable Energy Project. And many thanks to Central Queensland Power for being a presentation partner today. It was really, really informative.